Tap-and-go cards using NFC technology, very convenient, but it does leave you vulnerable to nefarious criminals. They are now targeting South Africans using the tap functionality on their cards when they make payments. Before you find yourself a victim to this crime, let's find out how to protect yourself. From Richard Frost, from Amata Cyber Security. Richard, good afternoon. Welcome to today. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. I mean, it looks like each time the banks innovate and come up with new ways of making banking and transaction convenient, the criminals are a step ahead in trying to undermine that and benefit from it.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me again. It's very true. I mean, technology, as fast as we're advancing it and trying to make lives easier for people, there are people that are actually finding ways of bypassing the security measures on these devices. I think what you've seen as well is with the events of COVID coming around, the tap function was used a lot more to avoid the contact as much as possible. So things like putting your PIN number in at ATMs, or when you're paying for something at a restaurant, they try to avoid the amount of time that you spend touching devices during COVID. By removing the PIN function. And I think because of that, we're starting to see a lot more fraud related to credit cards because of those security controls being more relaxed.
How do they access me or my card when I'm tapping it?
So your card, on a credit card, the chip that's in there, the NFC component of it, is readable all the time. There's nothing really preventing it from being read. And it's only when you tap it against the device that can actually read that chip that a transaction can take place. We've seen in the past, it's been going on for months, if not years, of people walking behind you and kind of tapping your wallets with a card reader and taking an amount off without you noticing. And this is the reason why we do have a PIN mechanism that you have to put in the PIN over a certain amount. What's happened though is the software has become more sophisticated and such that you could run it off your cell phone. You could literally walk up to somebody and tap the card with a cell phone, and you could create a financial transaction that would bypass all the security controls. So I think if you've seen the video that's been going around of the lady at the petrol station, there's a gentleman on his phone standing next to her talking to one of the cashiers, and literally as she leans across to tap the machine, he touches her card with the phone and takes off a financial transaction. Because of the fact that that card is always on, she could have tapped, she could have paid for whatever it was she was purchasing, and he would have taken the money off of her card as well without her realizing it. So it's two transactions in the space of 3 seconds.
So basically, we need to be vigilant about who's next to us then at the till.
100%. And I mean, if you think about it, even with the restrictions in COVID, if you were standing in lines after the COVID restrictions, how many people were right up on top of you while you were trying to pay at the till? We don't normally think of it in our day-to-day situation, but any one of those people could be trying to steal money from you in a fraudulent way by touching your card with some form of electronic device. It is always advisable that when you are making a payment to make sure that there is a safe space around you, whether you're at the ATM, whether you're paying at a shop, just try and keep that 1.5 to 2 meter gap between you and anybody else that's around you.
Now, Richard, besides asking somebody nicely, please, can you move back? I'm about to pay, or don't come close to me. What other measures can I do using my card to protect myself or to enable me not to be tapping and going?
So a lot of people are starting to utilize the technology within the smartphones, your iPhones, your Samsungs. They're all starting to bring things out like the wallets where you can actually load your credit card information on that. What's nice about it is it works in the same way from a payment mechanism, but there's more controls in place as far as when that tap function is actually activated. You literally have to open up an application. You have to load the card. You have a set period of time that you have to do the tap within before it disables itself, and you have to re-authenticate. And it is only a one-tap function. In other words, if I tap the machine once and it doesn't go through, it won't go through, right? Whereas your credit card, it's an always-on function. The app is only activated for the time that you want to make the transaction. So you would pay for whatever it is you want to pay, and if somebody did tap your phone with another phone to try and take money off, that application would have turned itself off already because you've already paid for the transaction.
Yeah, no, I use that. I mean, just yesterday I was topping up my fuel at the petrol station because also to activate it, you need your thumbprint. It's not automatic.
Correct.
And it immediately counts down, and it gives a small time in seconds that you could do that. But is it safe as well to disable that tap and go function? Is it possible? I don't know if our banks do that, can allow that to happen.
I think a lot of the banks have actually made a conscious decision to remove the tap function because of all of the fraud that's going to happen. Some banks will allow you to deactivate the tap function via the banking app. There are other methods of fraud that are starting to come out now where we've even seen incidents of people walking up to somebody on the streets, pointing a gun at them and saying, go into your internet banking app, here's an account number, transfer whatever money you can into this account, and then basically walking away. So digital mugging, so to speak, because you're getting the person to pay you via an EFT directly from your app. So you're now starting to have to almost hide the fact that you have a banking app on your phone. You shouldn't be waving your phone around in the first place. That should be hidden. Nobody should know where your phone is. So just be conscious about what it is that you're doing. Protect yourself more. Be more conscious about who's around you, and try to hide those functions.
Yeah.
If you're going to be tapping at a petrol station, even make sure that the machine is kind of handed to you through the window of the car, that you don't step out, just to create that extra element of security around you.
Now, you said some banks are already doing away with a tap and go function, but my question was, if I have a tap function now, like I do with my current bank, ABSA, can I go online and disable it myself, or I cannot?
You should be able to. Majority of the banks out there already, the big four banks I know, do support that function of disabling tap on the card. Myself have actually paused my cards so that they can't be used. I only use the digital wallets. If there's an emergent situation where I need to physically use the card, then I'll reactivate the card for the period of the transaction, do what I need to do, and then disable the card again. So you can do that through the banking app. The other thing people should start looking at doing is actually utilizing the digital card functions that some banks offer. For example, if you're going to do a lot of online shopping, create a digital card specifically for the online shopping and only put a small amount in there so that your transactions can never exceed that amount.
Yeah, now the other one that you've just raised now is a bit scary, where somebody approaches you with a gun in hand in the streets and say, open your phone, your banking app now, and here's the bank details. Please transfer so much money onto this account right away, and then leave you there. It's a difficult one because you are on your own and you're faced with this gun-wielding criminal. It's a very tough one to do. How prevalent are you seeing this new development, Richard?
It seems to be something that's new. I think it is something that's time-consuming. So your armed robbery, or the person that's holding you at gunpoint and trying to get you to do that EFT, is going to be more calculated. They're probably going to look at somebody who's a bit savvy and who can do the instruction, or follow the instructions quicker than, say, an elderly person that's maybe not as sophisticated on the cell phone. They'll be stumbling around trying to load the profile, trying to do the payment. I think you're going to find that these people that are holding you up in the streets are probably targeting you specifically. They have prior history of how much money you have in your bank account. They know that you very quick at being able to load a profile and pay, and they'll try and get in and out as quickly as possible. The longer it takes to perpetrate the crime, the less likely they are going to try and utilize that method.
Yeah, tap and go was useful, developed because of the COVID-19 pandemic, and to assist in less physical touching of machines and things like that. But the way we're going because of crime, do you see more and more people resorting back to swiping the card or inserting it physically into the pay point machine and putting the PIN and doing the transaction?
I think a lot of people are choosing to utilize the physical functions of it, like the swiping, down the side, or the physically inserting and utilizing a PIN. The problem there is you've still got all the details on the card as well, like your CVV numbers at the back that people can still clone, they can still copy and then utilize for online transactions. The other thing you might notice is, I don't know if you've ever done a long distance trip where you stop at a petrol station and fill up and pay with your credit card, and there's no PIN request, even though you've put 2,000 Rand of diesel into your vehicle. Almost no level of security whatsoever. Those machines completely override the security again. And it makes you then wonder, is it the bank, is it the credit card machine itself that's allowing that bypass of those security restrictions? What can we do to protect ourselves? If you're setting up a PIN on your ATM card or on your credit card, and the machine then bypasses all those security measures, who really is at fault? Who do we go and speak to and say, I've done what I needed to do, and your system has just been bypassed by somebody's antiquated credit card machine?
So, as we conclude, Richard, just the basics to protect ourselves from the tap and goes. You've explained, don't allow people to be next to you in a till machine, and that's one. The other one, you could disable it if you choose to do so, but perhaps use those particular apps that allow you, like I've got and you've got, and I'm sure many other people have, on the phones.
Yeah, I would definitely utilize the more digital types of payments that there are, the digital wallet payments, because of the fact that there are more controls in place, and because the payment function, the NFC function, is only activated while you utilize an app. If you think about the card with the always on, I would rather disable the card, leave the card at home even, put it in a safe somewhere for an eventuality that you might need the card for. But majority of payments out there, you can actually utilize your phone. I've even noticed some of the parking meters you can tap with the phone and pay there as well. So where at all possible, hide your card, don't use your card, rather use some more secured method of payment, or try and order a card that doesn't have the built-in chip, the NFC chip that you can use for the tap function.
Yeah, and at any pay point overall, just be vigilant all the time. Nobody's next to you besides the teller and yourself. Thank you very much, Richard, for your time and explanation this hour. That's Richard Frost from the cybersecurity company Amata. Please do take care. At the top of 4 o'clock, I'll be back.